guys? California Phantom here. I'm on my way to Oakland, California. I'm doing a commercial shoot. It's a little bit different than a real estate. I know a lot of you are interested in doing commercial jobs, 107 pilot jobs with your drone. Congratulations if you've already got your license. A lot of people push the real estate side, which is great. I do a lot of real estate, but I have to be honest with you, most of the money, the big time money, is in commercial shoots. Now expect to make at least 2 times or 3 times the amount on a commercial shoot versus a real estate shoot.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Because what the client is asking. When you're typically dealing with real estate, you're doing a 1 hour, maybe a 2 hour job. A lot of the stuff is internal shots, only stills. Some of the realtors want video walkthroughs, which is really time consuming and honestly doesn't net you that much money. But commercial shoots typically involve your drone in the air the longest, and they're the ones that typically net the most income. Now it's important to note with commercial clients, they're going to want to be very particular. I would say at least 50% of my clients who do commercial properties have specific shot lists in mind. So you're not having to build the shot list or have them go into something where they're not really know exactly what they're getting. They're kind of only basing it off of your portfolio. With real estate, it's a lot like that. They're looking at what you've done, your work you've done, and they want you to repeat that. Maybe they want to sprinkle in something particular or something specific. But with a client from a commercial side of things, a commercial property, a lot of times they have specific videos, specific shots they want in mind. Again, 50% of them often provide me with a full shot list, meaning they're going to want me to do a list of specific styles of video, specific types of shots at a particular site based on that site's orientation to the sun and everything else. If you're getting into this, I highly recommend you focus yourself on commercial more than real estate, because with commercial, usually if you get in with a client, you can do a string of properties versus real estate, which is very much one-to-one houses. Now, if realtors like you, they're going to ask you back, they're going to invite you back, and if they're a good realtor, they got a string of houses they want to have your touch on, your artistic touch on. On the commercial aspects, you're doing big properties for 2 to 3 times the income. Now, that also rolls directly into construction. So a lot of times I'll do a commercial site and the developer or the owner is doing a development and he wants once a week, twice a week, or once every other week video and photo updates of a commercial property as it's being built. You can do 3D mapping that way if you're not familiar. There's a lot of good videos on YouTube about that. But I can't emphasize this enough. Real estate is great, but commercial is always better. So I'm heading to Oakland, not my favorite place.
Now this is when I knew I was in a bad neighborhood. You only see this in the worst neighborhoods. Remember, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. I look out the window. It was a baby standing on a corner.
So you have your website, you have your marketing materials, you have your business card. You want to network. The best way to do that is obviously advertising. You want to reach out to those commercial developers. You want to reach out to commercial entities that list, rent, and sell property that are commercial sites, and you want to offer them services. Now, when you offer them services, it's a very good idea that you already have your portfolio ready so they get an understanding of how good your work is and what you're using equipment-wise. Now, typically the first step I do when I get to Oakland is I'm going to drive around the area, around the property, and do a check as far as power lines, obstacles in general. I want to look at if there are mountains, trees, if there's anything that's going to make my job more difficult. Now, usually I always do that with Google Maps. They have a 3D function that allows me to check the landscape of that property before I go, so I already have an idea of what I'm looking at before I actually get there. So after I've done that cursory check in my vehicle, I find a good parking spot. This is another thing I do with Google. I always find a decent spot near the property. 9 times out of 10, When you're doing a commercial site, you're not going to have anybody that you deal with on site directly. This is a solo job. You're not going to encounter anybody. You're going to be emailing and forwarding all of your content to the client afterwards. How I bill my client is typically how much time I spend in the air versus how much time in post-processing. Now, editing typically takes a lot of time. If you guys edit it all, you're familiar with it, so take that into account when you bill your pricing. It's very important to understand what the client wants from you specifically and what you're capable of doing and how much that's going to cost you with time. Now, with commercial, I'll tell you right now, you're gonna need a lot more airtime. Typically, I'm using my Phantom 4 Pro. I have no less than 6 batteries with me, and most of the time I'm using only 4 batteries, but that's still about 2 hours of flight time. Another thing I can't emphasize enough, and this is something in my area, it might not be an issue in your area, is body cameras. I cannot stress to you enough how important it is to get yourself a body camera. More often than not, I will encounter law enforcement, but every so often, I encounter a citizen who either thinks what I'm doing is illegal or what I'm doing is encroaching on them, specifically their house, their business, or whatever. And so things can get a little bit heated. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna sugarcoat that, but having a high quality, large body camera really puts the fight out of law enforcement, puts the fight out of citizens who think that you're wrong and they're right. I actually acquired very similar to a police body camera, and I've noticed ever since I've been using that versus the little tiny pen one, the large body camera completely takes the fight out of police. I've had police come up on me, roll up to me, see the body camera, and just continue to drive by. So they don't even want to deal with the repercussions of having everything that they say and do be on film. And I think that's a lot of times why they just keep on driving. Now, dealing with citizens or unruly people, when you have the body camera, it just makes you look more professional. It makes you look like you know exactly what you're doing. I also use a vest, a reflective vest that says FAA, licensed pilot. I've noticed that with non-police officers, they really think you're more professional and they're less likely to harass you. After you got your site, you've got exactly your shot list, you know what you're gonna film, you know what the client expects of you, you have that parking space picked out in mind, you wanna get out, you wanna observe the area, make sure nothing has changed from those Google images. You want to make sure nothing's going to hit you if you take off. If you have that 100-foot flight, you're not going to run into a power line. You're not going to run into another building. Don't rely on DJI software or their obstacle avoidance. You are the #1 obstacle avoidance. The other thing I can't stress enough is the pre-flight check. Now, I typically do my pre-flight check the morning of or the night before. Because you're a commercial pilot, you're using your drone a lot more than if you were just doing it as a hobby. You want to make sure that that drone is in perfect working order. The last thing you want to do is on a site, have a drone go down, hit someone, hit a vehicle, hit a building.
I am never going to financially recover from this.
You want to make sure you do your pre-flight checks. Now, I have a video up here somewhere. I'll put a link up in there. It's an old video, but it's still pretty good. It highlights most of the things that you're gonna wanna do to look for, to make sure you don't have any crashes. Pre-flight check cannot be stressed enough. That's pretty much it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already. Drop me a comment down below letting me know your 107 experiences. I'd love to hear from you guys. Maybe I forgot something, I didn't include something. If I did, I apologize, but these videos are not easy to do. I love your guys' support, I appreciate it, and we'll catch you on the next adventure.